Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you had a great weekend. I certainly did. Weather was mostly awesome. Um, we put together a new basketball hoop for the kids, so they had a ball with that. We had a picnic in our side yard. Um, I went out and found some mushrooms, which might just, if I can find some more, there might actually be another episode of Cooking with Sandro. Oh, Cooking with Sandro. I Googled it just to see if the YouTube videos would come up, and guess what? Maybe you've already found this out, but there's a real YouTube cooking show called Cooking with Sandro. Some dude whose first name is Sandro. So I'll probably have to change the name. Not that I necessarily think he's going to come after me, but whatever. Cooking with Mr. Sandro? I don't know. Send in your ideas for uh, renaming of Cooking with Sandro. I also, oh God, did not think that I would be going back to doing this, but I did in fact cut my own hair over the weekend. It's been many years since I did that, and so let me introduce you to my Corona cut. You know, it is what it is. I don't know. Might have missed a couple spots, but whatever. Um, so today we wrap up chapter 19 and our two-chapter unit of 18 and 19. You'll get review materials. You've still got those timelines to finish up, and by next Tuesday, I'll be giving you your test. To recap, the early Earth began as a cluster of junk. Something smacked into it hard enough to transfer enough energy to melt it. Don't go back too far in your time machine because the early atmosphere was rather heckish. It cools enough to form water, and at some point we see the first organic molecules. Miller and Urey did a decent job of simulating how that probably happened by passing sparks through the stuff that would have been there. People in 1995 did a little bit more accurate job of it and got basically RNA components. The big question of how life began is as yet unanswered. We have a couple ideas about how lipids will form these things called microspheres if you heat them up in water. They're kind of like cells, but not cells. We think that as a first kind of do-it-all genetic material, RNA probably would have been better. From there, once we have cells, then we've got free oxygen because photosynthesis develops. Shortly after that, we get a mass extinction as those critters do so well that they kind of flood the oceans and atmosphere with oxygen. So the first mass extinction. And then internal membranes show up, right? Eukaryotes. We see the first internal membranes, probably the beginnings of stuff like the ER and nucleus about 2 billion years ago. And then endosymbiosis, a topic you're going to need to review is my guess for the test because it will be on it. So dig back to chapter 7 for that. And then all that's left really until we're off to the races with your timelines are sex and multicellularity, both of which totally speed up and diversify evolution, setting up the Cambrian explosion, which is sort of where your timelines start. So we covered sort of the history of the Earth that way, from beginning kind of to now. Things can seem a little bit crazy now, right? There's some stuff going on that might lead you to think, oh my God, this is it. Like, holy crap, this is really bad. This is really bad. What's going on? I'm here to tell you that at about 5 times during the Earth's history, things have happened that made this look like nothing. And that is our topic for today. We are going to talk today about specific patterns in evolution, starting with mass extinctions. And when I say mass extinctions, I don't mean just, a bunch of humans die because of some disease. I mean, holy cow, just about everything dies. So 5 major ones so far. And really causes kind of all over the map. We know about the one that got the dinosaurs and just about everything else on the planet, called the KT extinction. That was definitely a space object. We've got evidence in the layers of the sediment that we can pinpoint lots of things about that impact. Those of you that listen to the podcast know that the latest research shows that it wasn't just that a bunch of clouds of ash blocked out the sun like we used to think, but that the stuff that went back out into the atmosphere from that impact then came back to Earth and heated up the atmosphere to like way like pizza oven and beyond like temperatures, basically frying everything in a few hours. That's a mass extinction, right? There's one where basically all of the super volcanoes over the Earth, like the one that makes Yellowstone National Park look like a big zit, right? If you look at the topography, that's a super volcano. That thing blows. It usually happens with a bunch of other ones around the planet, and that can cause a mass extinction. So those, by the way, if you didn't hear me say it before, those are things that I would really like to see under timelines. Mass extinctions are easy. You know, it's easy to draw a bunch of like death and destruction and however you interpret that. But it'd be great to see those. That'll definitely go a long way toward you getting a bunch of points for that assignment. The thing about mass extinctions, evolution-wise, of course, you know, like if you're there, it's a super bummer, but evolution-wise, they are real interesting. If you remember the concept of the niche or niche, however you want to say it, what a mass extinction does, provided there are survivors, and so far there always has been, is it leaves a bunch of those niches unoccupied, empty. And man, evolution loves an empty niche, right? Like that means we can start to get some of that spreading out, that geographic isolation, those critters getting into new niches, and of course that's what drives those natural selection types that we talked about. And so we have a name for that. When a group of organisms, a population, gets to move out into a bunch of new niches, we call that adaptive radiation. Now, radiation can have a couple of meanings. This one is not like, you know, the sun's radiation or like the harmful radiation from X or Y. It means to move outward, right, to radiate from a central point. So we've got this population that suddenly a bunch of stuff, suddenly everybody around it is dead. Well, it gets to move outward and occupy a bunch of niches that existed. So the definition is one group evolving into several diverse groups, usually because of those empty niches. And so it turns out that that is so important. And it answered so many questions about, you know, there were a lot of uncertainties about Darwin's original ideas, which he called gradualism. The idea that there's this steady rate that evolution happens at, super slow, steady rate. You're changing at this snail's pace, and changes accumulate, and we can, you know, and we can map it, but there was all these gaps. There was all these like times when, okay, there's certain species that didn't change much at all. Like look at the horseshoe crab. The horseshoe crab basically hasn't changed for hundreds of millions of years. And then you look at times like the Cambrian explosion when stuff is, I mean, there's these huge gaps where tons of change happens. So, you know, the question was, why would some critters evolve fast and some critters evolve slow? Why are there these gaps in the fossil records where changes happen so fast that we don't have, you know, those missing links like we do with the horse? And so the rethinking of that and the answering of that question led to, and it's a couple of scientists named Stephen Jay Gould and Niles Eldredge who come up with the idea of, oh, it's about the mass extinctions. This idea is called punctuated equilibrium. Equilibrium as in a period of slow or virtually no change, punctuated by those mass extinctions, right? It's basically an adjustment, and this is a great example of the T in CONPIT, right? Being tentative, being willing to change when new evidence comes along. It's not always at the same rate. That there are long periods of this stability, and we get these critters like the horseshoe crab or the cockroach that seem real well adapted and don't change much. But the critters that are kind of left standing after there's a mass extinction, they get to change real fast. And that those periods, the kind of post-mass extinction periods, are the times when most of the kind of dramatic shifting into new species, that's when most of that happens. So that's that theory. It is a theory at this point. It's stood up to everything we've thrown at it. It's the best explanation we've got for the patterns we see in the fossil record. That's it in a nutshell. And so, yeah, we already did coevolution. How about that? I think we're done. God, how long did it take us? It took us like a month to get through a 2-chapter unit, but that is okay, because that basically, state curriculum-wise, that's it. So good job. I've been real happy with what everybody's done so far. There's a few of you that need to get on the horse, and you know, there's probably 2 or 3 of you that have a bunch of missing assignments to where it's really hurting you, but man, I am pleased with how this has gone. So here is the plan. You will see in your assignments that there is one new one this week, which is the sample essay questions for chapter 18 and 19. They are due May 5th, which is a week from today, same day that the timelines are due. Okay, both those things due at the same time. As far as the sample essay questions, you are going to handwrite your answers to those. If you want to print out the questions and do it on the typical worksheet you normally get, that's fine. If you'd rather just write the answers out on notebook paper and not rewrite the questions, I have no problem with that. Okay, none of this commie or cami stuff. Handwrite it either on your paper or on a printed version of the sample essays. For you, the resources I'm going to post, obviously this video, and I've got everything but this video at this point posted on an actual YouTube channel. I bit the bullet and did it, just because I think it's good for you to have all those videos, even the ones I did with a different program, Loom, together in one spot. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's just Luke Sandro. I'll probably post a link to it. You can see all those videos and the Cooking with Sandros, but that's not important for the test. All of them together. So I'll post that. I will also post the full notes file for you, the PowerPoint, so you can have all that together. And there will be a Kahoot at some point that you can go through. Next Tuesday, I will be posting the chapter 18 and 19 test. I will tell you what that test will look like. It's not going to be your typical test. You're not getting multiple choice because, of course, I have no way of knowing that, you know, you're the one getting the answers to that multiple choice. So it will be very much an essay-focused test. You know, essays probably quite similar to the ones you're seeing on the sample essay questions. So that's a good argument for doing your own work on the sample essay questions, because I'm going to be making sure you do your own work on the test. You'll be uploading that test to Turnitin.com. You will not see the originality report. You don't need to, because you're going to know it's your work, because you're going to be answering those questions for yourself. Okay, that test that I assign next Tuesday will be due that Thursday. So you'll have a little bit less time than you've had for the past couple assignments, simply because I don't know what our sort of no more new material date is going to be. They haven't announced it yet. Could conceivably be that Friday, so I want to make sure it's done by then. Okay? Happy Hat Day. Hope you're doing awesome. Please reach out if you need anything. Keep coming to the live meets on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Actually, real quickly here, because some folks have been having trouble finding the Google Meets if I don't post them in your office hours thing. The solution to that is real simple. Go to your Google Calendar. It's just calendar.google.com. You hit it, and as long as you are logged in as your Springboro self, your meets that are scheduled in your classes will automatically show up. So like, for example, tomorrow, if you're in CP Bio and it's you want to know when your meet is, you can see right here, it's 11:30. You hit it and you can actually join the meet right from that screen, right? You hit that and there you are. So we'd love to see you guys there. We've been having lots of fun with brain teasers, but we're kind of getting the same crowd. It'd be cool to have some new blood as we get towards the end here. All right. So that's it for me. I will see you in a couple of days.